Hey there, this is Keenan Fry, and you're watching the acid drip. I did a brief recording a few days ago of myself working on the letter Y, and I'm not going to work on it now during the course of this video because I have a shitload of other stuff to do. But I just wanted to go over the progress because I've gotten a lot done. I might do like a quick little tweak. I got this kind of spinal column here done with these ribs. And the tweak that I might do is this blue line here. I think I'm going to bow it outwards a bit just to make it, in my opinion, a little bit more in line with the new direction this is kind of going in. But I'm going to just kind of like tweak this briefly and then tell you what I'm thinking as I'm doing it. I've been kind of working my ass off at this, and it feels good because I can't tell you how much of a funk I was in, like a weird, funky kind of depression. And like I tell you, man, I get depressed and I just don't want to do shit. I don't. And it kicks my ass because it's like, why am I even bothering? Why am I even trying? And things just get under my skin. It's a very human experience. To feel kind of lost or maybe a little depressed or whatever. So yeah, I was definitely struggling with that for a little bit, but it hasn't necessarily gone away per se. But what has happened is I've been more motivated. So briefly this morning, I was meditating on depression, and I've kind of realized over the years that I get depressed all the damn time. And the secret to managing it for me is to just be real busy, just like crazy busy, which kind of makes me like somewhat of a neurotic type. I'm not gonna lie. Like I can sometimes be just like so busy, it just makes me, out of my mind crazy because like everything feels hectic, everything feels urgent. Oh my God, the house is burning down. And like that'll really stress the hell out of you and make you just like kind of nutty. That being said, and I mean this, there's a kind of strength to using your depression as best as you can. And that sounds kind of crazy, but like, bear with me. I think of depression a lot like pneumonia. And I think of it a lot like in the context of walking pneumonia. There are a lot of times where I feel depressed, and you wouldn't know. You wouldn't be able to tell. And it's predominantly because, like, I'm pretty good, not necessarily at masking it, because that's not per se what I'm doing. I'm kind of like working through it. I'm walking my way through the depression. And I know that like the only way to get through it is to get to the other side. And if I can get to the other side, it doesn't necessarily go away. It just becomes less painful. And then I can kind of handle things better because I'm less bothered by things. See, that's better because it's kind of closer to what I'm trying to achieve with that spinal column. The other one was just too thin. So anyway, that's what I was trying to achieve there. But yeah, if I force myself to work, and this is really kind of shitty, but it's true. If I force myself to work even when I really fucking don't want to, I get over my depression. So yesterday, I hit the bench press for the first time in a couple of weeks, and I have been having anxiety and just all kinds of issues managing my anxiety, and I feel great because I hit that bench press, and I mean I hit it hard. Um, Considering the fact that I haven't hit it in a few weeks, I hit it twice yesterday, so I did about 40 reps at 180 pounds. I used to do 200 reps at 180, and then I just fell off a cliff because I just got wiped out by everything else. And some shit got under my skin. I kind of let it get under my skin, but it also was kind of like hectic. I've mentioned that I've been having I had a health scare not too long ago, and things happen, and it affects you, and you have to recognize that when something affects you, you kind of have to be willing to take a step back and admit, like, okay, this had an effect on me. How do I recover? So that's what I've been trying to focus on now, and I feel significantly better doing that now than I did a couple of days ago, and especially a couple of weeks ago. The last 2 weeks have just been like, ugh. So, where am I going with this? So I have a ridiculous amount of work to do. I got 2 reports to do, an observation report to write. I have to rewrite document 1 because it wasn't necessarily satisfactory for my professor's expectations. It wasn't bad. I got an 80% on it, but like in grad school, an 80% is like the lowest passing grade. So like if someone's giving you an 80%, they're like, hey, you're borderline. Get your shit together. So I got to rewrite that document and go on from there. I have to write observation report number 2. And then I got to write part 2 of an essay that was technically already due. But I told you these last few weeks have been really hard for me to focus or get anything done. So right now I'm on spring break. Technically, I made a commitment to do some stuff, but I backed out of it because I just needed to focus on myself and take care of myself. It's unfortunate, but sometimes you have to go back on certain promises because you just can't do it because it's just not in the cards at the time. And I mean, it's hard, dude. It's damn hard, the work that I'm doing right now, but I'm trying to get through it. So let's see if I can get the letter scan to show up. There it is. There's a section that's in green. That's basically what I did yesterday. I did a little bit of work on the spinal column the other day before that during the stream. Did some stuff up here, worked on this red section. This part of the spinal column here was also in red up until I joined that new shape. And then I did some work down here on this piece. Now I'm going to turn off the drawing. And I can say comfortably that this is about halfway done, which really kicks ass because, God, I was struggling with this for a long damn time. I just didn't work on any artwork for fucking months, and it just drove me crazy. And I just was buried, I haven't done any artwork in months because last semester was a nightmare, and then, because of that, I was just so stressed out of my damn mind, I didn't get anything done. So I was just trying to kind of like cope and quasi self-medicate by, doing one of my hobby projects. So like I said, I do a little bit of Warhammer stuff here and there. And, I bought some figures and I built them. Never got a chance to paint them, which is super frustrating because, that's where rubber meets the road and you really practice your art skills. There's something very profound about painting a 3-dimensional object instead of a 2-dimensional object because of the way light hits a 3-dimensional object. If you're trying to realistically paint the contours, the light contours on a 3-dimensional object, it's really hard. And I mean like really, really hard. You have to set up a light box, put the item in the light box, take a photo of it, and then try painting it and compare it to the photo. And photos tend to flatten light. So like if all you do is paint from a reference photo, you're also running into some problems there because, photos flatten light. And it's that whole observer effect. So by observing it through the form of a photograph, you've denatured the light because light is very soft and diffuse, but in a photograph it tends to have harder edges because the photograph is a limited medium. So that's why it's always superior to work from a live model when you're doing human figure drawing. And that's why I like painting miniatures, because it's in that same realm of, you know, doing still life work, but it's something that captures my interest because I fucking hate painting bowls of fruit. I can't do that shit. I know people who can sit around all day long and paint bowls of fruit, and it makes me want to bash my head out on the concrete. But I know people who can do that, or they can paint a flower, a vase with a sunflower in it. I can't do that. It just doesn't capture my interest. I'm too much of a dude. I'm too much of a yod, running around causing trouble. I don't have the mental focus for that. It's got to capture my interest, or I just don't care. So I've kind of come to the realization that that just doesn't work for me. So as much as, you know, Warhammer 40,000 is a hobby and is kind of like a treat, it actually has some substantial value, especially when you get into the wet blending techniques and the glazing techniques and the various layering techniques. That's something that you can do with enamels and acrylics that you can't do with watercolor, because watercolor just doesn't work that way. And most of the painting I do is in watercolor. So anyway, I spent a bunch of time doing some Warhammer stuff just to try and like keep myself doing something creative and artistic, but it wasn't, you know, this font project. So for those of you that don't know, I started this project February 2017 or 2018, yeah. And it was designed to be a lot smaller than what it currently is. I mean, I'm probably not going to finish this in 2022, which means this is at least going to be a 5-year project. It's already been 4 years. It's now March. It'll probably take 5 years to do this. Now, if I sat down and did this every day, 3-4 hours a day, I probably could have done it in about 2 years, realistically speaking. But that wasn't the case, because life doesn't work like that. You don't really get to do what you want. You have to work around things. So, and you have to be persistent in that. So, yeah, anyway, I'm glad that I'm making progress with this, that it's actually moving in the direction I want it to move in after like fucking months of just stalling out and just feeling like I was spinning my wheels in the mud. I finished a couple of other letters not too long ago, but I've really seen an uptick in my design work, which is good. I've been playing a little bit more guitar. I was, despite the fact that I was kind of depressed, kind of like in a walking pneumonia. You're sick, but you're still able to move around and go to work. Even though I was kind of like depressed and dealing with that, because last semester was a fucking nightmare. I got a lot of guitar stuff done, studied a lot about harmonic minor, which is good, and started to really wrap my head around how jazz works. So here's what I'm hoping to do long term, and then I'm going to talk about what I got to do short term. Long term, I want to get these fucking letters done. I want to get clarity spelt out, and I want to get earth seed spelt out. So I've got the H done, which is good. So it's EARTH, and those are all unique letters. Then there's S. There's another EED. Well, we've already done the E from the earth seed, so the earth, that E covers the 2 E's in seed. And then there's a D. So there's 7 letters. I have earth seed now spelt. I have all 7 of those letters spelt. I have the words Veritas, Veritas, and now I'm getting a Y done. So Y will let me spell clarity, Clarity. So the T is done from Veritas. Um, the I is done. The A is done. So really it's a C, an L, and a Y. Clarity. ARI are already done. And so ARIT are already done. So I had 3 letters to do for clarity. CLY. Y's almost done. That leaves me with C and L. Like, the sugar, C and L. So what I got to do is hopefully by June get C and L done. I would like between now and June, before my birthday, so it's the 23rd, right? It's the 23rd of March. My birthday's in June, June 21st. So I've got 3 months to go to get 2 letters done. That's 12 weeks. I can probably do a letter every 4 weeks, but giving myself 6 weeks helps. So I could probably get those 2 other letters done if I put in maybe 8 hours a week. Give or take maybe 10 hours a week. If I do 10 hours a week, I'll probably get it done. And I'll feel good about it. Then, once that's done, I'll have something I can print, which is huge step forward. But we'll see. There's that, and then I'd like to get back to working on some of the heavy metal songs. I was working on Slaughter of the Soul. I was working on Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. Love You to Death is another one that I'd like to work on. Peace Cells, Mechanics. These are all things that I'd like to get back to. Obviously some Iron Maiden, some Lamb of God. Death, I was working on Secret Face. So a lot of irons in the fire. I'd love to do that. The book project I've been working on is just on hold, and I'm just not thinking about my book right now, which is probably a good thing because I have some ideas for it, but it's probably best that I just leave it on the back burner so I don't overwhelm myself. So I'm okay with that. I might write down some note cards, jot down some ideas so I don't forget some of the things that I was kind of brainstorming, just so that stays fresh. But that's, inconsequential at this point in time. Yeah. Oh, before I get into immediate goals, see, I'm very distracted. The star, you're probably wondering why the hell there's a star. I put stars next to things if a section is incomplete. This section actually looks very complete, but there's some open space here and here that needs to be addressed. And like this whole upper horn on the left-hand side needs to be addressed. So really the star should be more like over here. But I put a star next to areas that I want to go back and focus on, because I will forget where it is I left off. So it's just like a little note in the margin to remind myself like, oh, I got to go back to this and finish this up and so forth. But it's getting better. This is getting better, which is good because, oh man, I've been losing my mind. Okay, so that's it for more of the long-term stuff. Obviously, I'd like to get back to painting as well, but I'm not going to get into that right now. In terms of short-term stuff, holy shit, I have to do paperwork for my LLC. I have to file taxes. I also have to file statements of information, one for the state of California and one for my actual healthcare service regarding my employment status. So that's 3 sets of documents that are pretty damn important that I have to do. As I said, I have to do a rewrite for one of my classes and the next document, which I'm a bit behind on. And then I have to write up the observation report. I have done all of the observation work. I have my notes. I remember what was going on. So I'm in a good position to get that done. I just need to hammer things out. But I'll tell you, you know, sometimes I get this weird feeling like that sometimes things are futile. This is that walking depression I was talking about, where I feel like, fuck, how am I going to get this shit done? And the reality is that good work begets more work. And there's a lot of times where I'm in a situation where I have a ton of work to do and I just don't know if I can actually get it done. But I find that if I listen to that voice in my head that says, oh, this is impossible, it's futile, fuck it, it really does become impossible. But if I ignore that voice and I say, all right, I'm going to try, and I'm seeing one little thing that's kind of bugging me right now. But if I say, all right, I'm going to try, like I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to try and make it better. If I do that, I know that at the very least it won't get worse. So like, I won't lie to you, I feel totally overwhelmed right now with everything I have to do, and it kind of feels like the ship is sinking a little bit, and like that really stresses me out because like, fuck dude, I hate this feeling that I'm always behind and that, you know, I don't have any control over my environment and that, you know, everything is kind of chaos and up in the air, and holy fuck, I hate that feeling because it's like everything is just, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, blah blah blah, and we don't care how you feel, just get it done. It's like, it drives me nuts, and it really stresses me out. Really stresses me out. Oh boy, it stresses me out. I don't know how to deal with it, you know, besides to kind of impulsively do something about it. And like a lot of the times, because I have to like act impulsively in order to get anything done, which is kind of like contradictory, but seriously, like it's on a weird impulse that actually it's my impulsiveness that drives me to finish things, is what I'm trying to say. Because I end up doing a lot of my work on an impulse, it feels very fucking haphazard and stressful. And maybe that's an aspect where I could work on my own level of discipline. And that's probably a very fair and accurate criticism. But the reality is, I'm doing my best to get shit done. And to an extent, it is actually getting done. So I'm probably doing something right. But it's still just a fucking nightmare at this point. And I don't know what else to say about it. You know, I don't know what else to say about it. I want to work more on this drawing, but I just can't put in the time because I have to move on to the next thing. So I'm doing lots of little like bookend things to tie up my ideas to make sure that things work. Be more like that. Yeah, it would probably be like that. And there's a thing here that I have to fix. See, this is what I'm saying when I tell you that it's kind of impulsive. It's not really, there's no real organization to how I get shit done. It's just kind of like, okay, got to respond to this, got to respond to that. It's kind of reactionary, which is why I feel stressed out. I'm going to tweak a few little more points, and then I'm going to shut this off and end this video. And then I have to upload this stuff to YouTube so I can at least upload a video during the year of 2022. That's another thing, is like I just fell off the train. I fell off the horse when it came to YouTube. I was doing a lot of YouTube stuff in 2020, and like 2021 was a nightmare, and I'd like to be better in 2022 about doing YouTube, because I think that while I think that YouTube is horseshit in terms of its actual, like, you know, getting paid to be a YouTuber, I think that's horseshit. Like, you're not gonna make any fucking money doing that. Not anymore, at least. There are some people who are making money off of it, but like, you have to be a hardcore shill. And then there are some people who aren't shills, who are very authentic, who are very capable of making money off of it. But I think that the latter is rare and the former is more common, the hardcore sales shill types. The people who I see on YouTube who are not shills, they're usually middleweight, successful, you know, 50 to 100,000 subscribers, but they don't really get above that because they're not doing the heavy corporate stuff to get them into the million mark. There's a few people who are in the million subscriber mark who I still think have integrity, but it's very hard to get that far without being somewhat of a salesman. And like, I don't mind being a salesman for my own artwork or my own creativity or my own product. And I don't necessarily mind doing it for a product that I use. Obviously, I'm using Adobe Illustrator, and the plugin series that I'm using for my smart tools is Vector Scribe, which is made by Astute Graphics. So like, if Astute Graphics came up to me and said, hey, you know, we'll sponsor you or whatever, I'd probably take that sponsorship because it's something I use. But for the most part, I see a lot of people just being arbitrarily sponsored. And, you know, I have my qualms with that. But, you know, on one hand, I have my qualms, and on the other hand, I'd have to admit that those people are very successful, and there is a little bit of jealousy on my part for their success, and I am willing to admit to that. But I do think that there's a way to do it without being a total shill, and I think that if you can manage your desires appropriately and not be too greedy, you can maintain your integrity on the YouTube platform and be successful with it by selling, you know, your own merchandise and your own products, your own lesson packs. Trovarion Miniatures is one of those examples. I'll see if I can find a link to put in the description of this video of his website and his materials, but he's a guy who does miniature painting tutorials, Golden Demon winner. For those of you that don't know, that's like the Olympics of miniature painting. That and the Crystal Brush. Crystal Brush is really more like the Olympics because anyone can enter in it. Golden Demon is like Games Workshop specific. But Golden Demon was the initiator of, you know, competitive miniature painting. And so they're kind of like the OG, but Crystal Brush has kind of taken its place because anyone can enter into Crystal Brush. If you want to win a Golden Demon, you have to enter a Games Workshop specific miniature, which is good and bad. They're obviously doing it from a marketing standpoint, but there's some problems with it because it really severely limits the field of competition. At the same time, they were really the industry, they were the ones who broke ground in that industry, and they kind of deserve to have that place at the top because they took on a lot of business risk and they kind of paved the way for everyone who's followed, and a lot of people are kind of riding on their coattails, admittedly. You know, Warhammer 40,000 is an incredible story. Never mind the game system, just the mythology. And then, you know, the miniatures are very unique and steeped in lore. And that in itself is something that I deeply appreciate. And then the game is whatever. I think I've played 5 games of Warhammer in my life. You know, I'm not really interested in playing the game. I'm more interested in painting the miniatures and learning about light sources and so forth while painting three-dimensional models. So that's my ramble there on that. Trovarion, though, he's won multiple Golden Demons, and I think he's won a Crystal Brush. And he's got a few 100,000 subscribers. I think he's got like 200 and something, 300 and something thousand subscribers. And he's got a lot of integrity, and I got a lot of respect for that guy. So there are some big fish out there, but there's not too many of them. And big fish with integrity. There's not too many of them, but there's a few. And I deeply admire those folks. So I know I've rambled for about 30 minutes now on top of that other video. And the other video was like me drawing, and now I'm just kind of rambling. But, you know, hopefully this gives you an idea of where my head's at. Yeah. If you're an artist, musician, creative type, no matter what happens, don't give up. And if you feel depressed, treat it like walking pneumonia. Do not give yourself the privilege of giving up on your own work, because that's a privilege. You don't really want to give yourself that privilege. What you want to do is to give yourself the honor of still committing to your work, which is really hard to do sometimes. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've just wanted to say, fuck it, I don't care anymore. But you really have to keep yourself moving forward. I have a lot of work to do. Today is going to be so fucking hectic. Tomorrow is going to be hectic. And people are calling me up saying, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? It's like, no. Give me some space. I need to take care of myself. And it's frustrating because I'm being squeezed. The candle has been cut in half, and both halves are burning from both ends. But I'm sleeping better. I'm eating better. I'm exercising more. I'm doing more proactive stuff to handle this situation. So if you feel like you are in a daze, a walking pneumonia, you're a day walking zombie, there's only one thing you can do to get out of that, and that's work your damn ass off. And I hope the best for anyone who's watching this. If you feel frustrated, burnt out, you're probably not the only one. And just don't let it affect your decision-making process. Stay committed to your work. Stay committed to yourself. Do your best to honor your promises, but limit your promises so that you are not promising some kind of miracle cure, because you don't want to make a promise you can't keep. That's probably the best professional advice I can give you. Do not make promises you cannot keep. You will pay heavy consequences on the back end for that, because people will stop trusting your word and they will start to resent you. And they will resent you because resentment is an emotion that is tied to a failure to keep a promise. You resent someone when they fail to live up to an expectation or promise. Well, a lot of the times resentment is an internal emotion that people project onto other people. The one time people rightfully can resent you is when you make a promise and you fail to live up to it. So do not make promises that you cannot fulfill, because you are the architect of your own demise, the architect and engineer. You are building your own failure. You are building a Hindenburg, a marvelous architectural disaster, engineering explosion. Engineering your own explosion. You don't want to do that to yourself. So don't make promises you can't keep. If you can back off of things, do it politely. Try to save some face and get your shit done. And just do what you need to do. I'm Keenan Fry. This is the Acid Drip. Thank you for listening to me. I hope that there was something practical or pragmatic. I hope it didn't sound too negative. I don't think it was negative. I think it was meant to be very real and grounded. So for those of you who are struggling, best of wishes to you. Like I said, I'm Keenan Fry. This is the Acid Drip. Despite exhaustion, always dream. And remember, this is the Acid Drip.